Aloha and welcome back to Across the Spectrum. I got my longtime buddy here, Chris Fletcher, aka Cultcha Shoc. He is an underground rapper. He's been out in Hawaii about 20 years, originally from Ohio. And so I'm going to let him tell you about his career.
Hey, what's good, everybody? This is Chris Fletcher, aka Cultcha Shoc. I've been in the music industry now ever since about 2002, but honestly, even before that, with rap battles and everything, underground things and stuff. I started my journey doing a little bit of stuff with Def Jam in the beginning, and then in 2008, I signed with Sony Records, and I've been going ever since then. Currently, right now, I've been working a lot with Wu-Tang and Killa Army, Sons of Man, and last year I did a song with Rick Ross.
Okay.
This year I got a couple big things coming up. Right now, I'm working on a song with Busy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony in Ohio. We rolling together, and I got Beretta 9 from Killa Army on there. It's a song called Ghetto Gospel. It'll be out before summer.
Right on. So, we've known each other for 18 to 20ish years. We must have met right when we got on the island together because I think we
Yeah,
met before you had
definitely.
kids. How old's your oldest kid now?
My oldest kid is 18. So yeah, I met you pretty much I met you like a couple months in whenever I got onto the island.
Right on.
2005.
2005. Yeah, I think I got here 2004. So yeah, basically right when we got here. Um, One of the first big projects I remember you doing is you got on uh, a Madden game, right? One of the songs on a Madden
Oh
game.
yeah, I did some work with Shady Records Aftermath with Eminem's crew. It was Cassius. Cassius, he got in with us. We did a party jam back in the day. It was called Pimpin' the Club stuff. It was just like, back in the day when everybody was all about the club life. I mean, I guess it's still going on, but not like it was then.
What
But it was covering that genre, covering that atmosphere.
do you remember? Which Madden it was on?
Um, I I couldn't remember right off the top
Right
of my
on.
head.
Just in
But it
case anybody
also
has some
got
old
played.
Maddens. What's
It
that?
also got played in the background at a Super Bowl. I think it was 2000. I think it was 2012 or 2013.
Okay. So one of my favorite songs that you have, I think it's called "In the Club" with copyright.
Oh yeah, yeah. That
Yeah.
that's pimping in the club.
Oh, that's the one that was on.
It's pimping the club. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay,
That's the
okay,
one. I got copyright on there. Another heavy hitter from Ohio, underground artist, huge underground artist.
okay, okay. So,
Cassius from Shady Records. He did the hook. I started it off with the first verse. Had a homie, Dan P. Rest in peace. He blessed the track also.
right. I will leave a link to that video in the description of this interview. Tell us
Much appreciated.
what's your favorite song that you've done and why.
Um, oh, that's a hard one to think about, but like right now, I'm really liking the one I'm doing with Busy Bone right now, with the Ghetto Gospel, and I got Brother Nine from Killer Army Wu-Tang Clan on there. I'm liking that one because I grew up listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they were the biggest thing out of Ohio. So straight up, like, I was just like, hey, they coming from a place that I'm coming from, and I'm seeing them do it. So, younger me was just like, oh, hey, this is achievable, and seeing that it's achievable. So it's honestly, it's a blessing to be able to work with somebody like that I have looked up to all my life, and actually now I'm creating music with them.
Right on. So you looked up to Bone Thugs and Harmony. What were some other influences you had in your early days that you listened to the rappers and whatnot, and any other music if you listen to other than rap
Cannabis.
music?
Yeah, Cannabis was a big artist that I listened to.
I like
I've been
cannabis.
working with him now for about 14 years
Okay.
and stuff, so that's been a blessing too. And then Wu Tang, of course. Sorry, my dog keeps stopping. Here, so everybody
All
can see
those.
the dog. Hey, Dot, say hi to everybody.
All right
Oh,
on.
she got something important to smell over there.
How
But
old is she?
She is 2.5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, she's my walking buddy.
Right.
Keeps me trying to stay in shape, right? You know what I mean. But besides that, like let me see. Snoop Dogg. Definitely listened to a lot of Snoop Dogg growing up. I do have a song coming out with him this year.
Uh-oh.
I haven't recorded my verse yet, but everything is written and ready. I just have to get the whole PR machine ready before I move forward with that.
So,
But that song's gonna be, definitely a top banger for me this year.
right. So do you have an album coming out, or do people just put out singles now? Because I know they don't buy records like they used to.
I've been putting out singles, like an album. See, the problem I see, I mean, not everybody will agree, but like, problem I see with albums is you drop it once, right? So you drop it, and then everybody says, "Oh, hey, look, Cultcha Shoc got a new album. Oh, this person or that person got a new album," and then that's it. You know what I mean? That's all you got right there. It's done. Like you can't just keep revisiting and saying, "Hey, I put out a new album 8 months ago." Oh, hey, guess what? I put out a new album a year ago. But whenever you break it down into singles, see, you could put more money towards that single for one, because you're not, instead of spending it through a whole album, you're just
Okay.
doing it on one single, right?
Yeah,
So that
okay.
with a bigger budget, you can create a better song, of course, and you know, just like everything else in this world, you got to pay to play, right?
Right.
If you want the big features, you got to come off of the wallet and
There you
stuff.
go. Okay.
So that's the way I've been doing it, and it's been working good for me. The last like full album that I did though, I did do an album with my group, Habaru Battalion and stuff. That's my super group. Like we got Hellraiser from Sons of Man, Wu-Tang Clan. We got Beretta 9, uh, aka Kinetic 9 from Killer Army, Wu-Tang Clan. We got King David's son, which is a Killa Bee, and then me, Cultcha Shoc.
Okay.
And I've been rolling with the Killa Bees for a while. I just did 2 songs on Killa Bee Radio Volume 1 by Solomon Childs that just dropped.
So the song is
Pretty
called
dope.
Radio.
Oh, the album is called Killa Bee Radio Volume 1
Okay.
by Solomon Childs. We have a song on there. It's called Project Steps that got featuring Capadonna, me, and Solomon Childs. And then we have another one called Lights, Camera, Action with Inspectah Deck from Wu-Tang Clan, and then Solomon Childs, Killa Bee Wu-Tang Clan. And that's all on his album he just put out.
Okay. I remember I used to listen to Wu Tang Clan a lot when I was young. I remember being on the bus and having my CD player and listening to Wu Tang Clan. So, uh, could you tell me like what's it like working with Wu Tang Clan? Like what are the members you know, and like just tell me a little bit more about working with Wu Tang Clan. That's one of my favorite groups when I was young.
Oh yeah, working with them is definitely a blessing and everything. And just like for me, I'm all about lyrics. You know what I mean? They're gritty, they're street, they're real, and they're one of the groups, honestly, I can say, that haven't sold out. Out of all these years, you don't see them running around like just like you know what I mean, wearing a dress and some devil horns and some stuff like that. Like you know what I mean? They're just being them, who they are. You know what I mean? Like straight
Right.
up, like you know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
looking at people, like no disrespect to them and stuff like that, but through the ages they have changed, and Wu Tang to me has stayed the same.
Consistent. Yes. So not selling out. That kind of brings me to let's talk about politics a little bit. In our
All right.
politics, it's all about selling out. The Democrats, Republicans have both sold out to the corporations for a very long time. What are your thoughts on politics before I start telling you all of mine?
All right. My thoughts on politics, like of course I'm biased, and like I think things need to change because I'm spending a lot of money on food and stuff. I got a family to feed and things, so that to me is a problem, and things need to be fixed and stuff. I definitely personally agree with you on the corporations. The corporations have moved in a long time ago, Kennedy was talking about this a couple weeks before he got shot and stuff like that. And, to see it transpire, all you got to do is go in the past. He was saying that it was coming. He was the president of the United States at that time. And it sure did come. You know what I mean? It's just
Mm-hmm.
who lobbies, who gets the votes and everything. But, you know, also too understanding business, it takes money to make money
Right.
and stuff like that. But when people have a bad agenda and want to, like, cancel out the middle class and stuff, that's where I got a problem with it. You know what I mean?
Right. So do you feel that either party services you or the people very well?
Not really. I mean, I did well. I personally did well under the last Trump administration because I was making money in the stock market while the music industry was down and stuff. So that worked out for me. So I like that one. But I really liked when Obama was the president. Like I felt like everything was peaceful for a long time. You know what I mean? It felt like we were going in the right direction with that. Um, Personally, I think Biden flopped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had hopes for Biden. I was like, hey, he was the vice president during that reign and everything, so maybe he'll do some stuff. But I also think time wasn't on his side. Also, you know what I mean? Like, you know, when I was 20, you'd say, hey, let's go climb this, do this now. Now that I'm older, I'm like, nah, you can go do that. You know what I
Yeah. So
mean?
he was a little bit slower at the time. Now he's a little bit too old to be there.
Yeah, I feel, especially during the last few years, I feel they're hiding his health issues and stuff. I mean, everybody can see it.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with tripping up steps. I mean, people do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. Like, we nobody's perfect. We all fall, but like, it was just becoming more and more apparent whenever he was like shaking hands in the air with people that weren't there. You know what I mean? Like, you could see that he's starting to suffer from early dementia, Alzheimer's, something kicking
Right.
in. Like
So
I said, like, I'm not gonna hold the man to the torch for becoming old.
right. But so you mentioned it like that. You're not going to hold him accountable for becoming old. But the Democrats around him, knew he was old and knew that he was having mental problems and whatnot. But then they still pushed him and still helped him
Yeah,
stay president. Right? They
he.
didn't tell like you should tell if your boss or somebody like that had the same problem, you would replace them. Right? You would do it gently maybe, but
I would feel and stuff. But that's honestly why we have a vice president and stuff like that. Not only just for assassinations for someone to
right,
come up, but a vice president's supposed to help in the places that they lack and stuff. And there's a whole system. You got the secretary and everything like that. You got a whole chain of command. But yeah, I think he did stay a little too long. But I thought like that was their best bet to win against the Republicans.
right. Okay. So
I think a,
earlier,
fu- a funny fact for Trump is that he got to run for president against women. That's the only time he won. Both times he went against women. I'm not saying that a woman can't be president, and I'm not saying that they lack that ability. Don't get me wrong, but just from statistics and life, like with everything that went through the past, we never had a woman president. You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah, but I think the two women president elects that they put up, Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris, are probably about the worst women president elects they could have put up. Like Elizabeth,
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, also too, I felt like Kamala Harris didn't have the grit. You know what I mean?
right? She didn't have the seriousness of it. Like she was
No,
kind of silly
stay
and
laid back, trying to come in. But maybe that was the political game. You know what I mean? Maybe it was, act like a mouse and be a lion. You know what I mean?
there
But
you
it
go.
backfired. You know what I mean?
Right, right. So before we started recording, you told me that you had a different kind of political strategy when it came to voting. Would you like to share that, or is that something you want to keep to yourself?
Oh no, I'll tell anybody. I personally don't vote. And see, we have a right to not vote. We can practice that right to not vote. And I sure am one that practice it because you're less likely to get drafted whenever you don't vote. And you also don't get called into jury duty. You know what I mean? You're less likely to, or don't. I never been called into jury duty, and so my thing has been working out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you want to go deeper into why I don't vote, another reason is the electoral college is who picks the president.
Right.
Doesn't matter about the popular vote. So I truly don't believe that my vote counts. Now, I've had people argue with me over and over, but I go back again. Okay, Hawaii, Democratic state. You could vote for Trump all you want, but they're still going to go with the Democrat.
Right.
Now, you go to a Republican state. You could have went for Kamala Harris. All you want, they're going for Trump. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you vote. That's on that level. I know there's other levels in it where your vote does count, but we're talking about presidency right now. So
yep, that is true when it comes to presidency. Like Hawaii is always going to give all their delegates to whoever is the Democrat, and Alabama, the southern states are going to give all their delegates to whoever's the Republican. But like as you said, down ballot, your vote can count a little bit more, and you can do some things in there.
Yeah.
So
you can do some stuff within your community. You know what I mean? You can do that and stuff. I personally help my community though. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not the boast whatever I do and stuff, but I believe in feeding the homeless and blessing them and stuff. I mean, you've been with me.
Mm-hmm.
You see me get the homeless, and you also see me take back from the homeless too whenever they trying to hustle me and treat me bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I'm also a person of integrity. I'm just like, hey, you're asking for a blessing, and now you're trying to snatch stuff out of my hand. That's two different things to me. You know?
Right. Yeah. So in Hawaii, we do have a really big homeless population. I think per capita we have the biggest. I hear other places claim that sometimes, like maybe California sometimes. But either way, we're in the top, I'd say 2 or 3. So we do deal with a lot of homelessness. But back to the voting. You say you don't vote. What if I'm running for the Green Party? Everybody on the channel knows that. What if you had a party that said things like the Green Party that was universal health care or pro-universal health care, pro a higher minimum wage, pro-housing first to get the homelessness off the street and get them into housing and then help them out with the drug problems or anything else they might have. But a party like the Green Party, could that possibly get you to want to take your time to go vote?
Yeah, maybe so. Well, if you, as a friend, were running for something, I would do it just like how, if I put out a song, you'll download it. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just well, if we don't work together, we don't rise together. So that would be a different agenda for me. I think I'm clear on not getting drafted. You know what I mean? Just age-wise.
Well, I was about to say you're there now anyway with the age-wise. Aren't you over 40?
Yeah, 41. Just turned 41.
There you go. Yeah, they don't want you in the military no more anyway.
You can still get drafted.
What's that?
You can still get drafted. I mean, but that would be like World War III. You know?
Well, yeah, they'd be taking everybody by then.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You see Grandma next to us and Grandpa.
Right. So I mean, what if I wasn't running? What if just it was just a party trying to come up that was kind of doing well, say a little bit bigger than the Green Party is now. Say they were on the ticket and had some down ballot candidates and they really jived with what you thought. Would that cause you to be able to go vote possibly?
They would have to maybe if the egg prices go up a few more dollars, then I'll come in there and do that.
That's true, man. Eggs is crazy. Are you going to Costco or Sam's to save money?
I do. I go to both.
Okay, right.
Sometimes when I'm lazy, I go to Safeway, but I pay the price for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I only get the small things at Safeway, like the things you can't get at Costco and Sam's.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go to Safeway and I look at the price and I'm like, I can't even get it. I got to go to Costco. I just leave.
Yeah. Well, it is okay. So, I didn't have time because I was recording and stuff, and I had to get that stuff done. But I went to Safeway. I spent $240, and I had four bags of food. You know what I mean? That's it. Well, and drinks and stuff like that, but just 4 bags, no big deep bags either. Just regular bags and stuff. Right. So, with Costco and Sam's Club, you definitely will have a cart full for that much.
Right.
But you're eating 181 hot dogs and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like
Eating a lot
whatever
of
it
the same
is.
stuff. See, I
Yeah,
I don't mind it. I eat repetitively. Just eat
yeah. I feel it. I mean, I can do that, but I don't because I got other mouths to feed and stuff like that, and everybody has a preference. So I try to meet that and delegate it the best I can as the head of the household.
Ooh, well, lucky them. They get to pick what they eat a little bit, huh?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. That's one thing too with the music industry and stuff like that. Like not balling out of control, but I can afford things I want. So I mean, that's enough freedom for me. You know what I mean? Because
I like that. Okay.
in Ohio and stuff like that, like we didn't have that much. You know what I mean? Especially in my younger years. As I got older, though, my parents definitely progressed, and then they definitely did come up. You know what I mean?
Okay. Do you know anything about your parents' politics? Were they very political when
Um,
you were young?
I don't really. Oh well, actually I do. I think my mom likes Republicans, and I believe my dad likes Democrats.
Okay. Well,
But a lot of people don't talk to me about it because they know it's kind of pointless. Because I think people talk politics to persuade people, and they know that I'm more likely to go to the beach than I am to go to the polls.
right on. So a lot of the channels I've been talking to now are kind of what do you call it, like black creators or whatnot. And
Yeah,
so a lot of people, some can tell here, some can't, that I'm mixed, and I bring it up some. And Cultcha Shoc here is also mixed. Your dad's a
yeah.
Democrat, your mom's a Republican. Which one's black? Which one's white?
My dad is black, and my mom is white.
Right on. So the
So my
Democrat is
mom's with the Republicans, and my dad's with the Democrats.
right on.
You know.
So my dad is also black, but my mom is white. She's also a Democrat, though. She's not a Republican.
Okay. Yeah, well, and that's what I was saying. Like, I mean, we all have our beliefs, and it's for to better ourselves. Like, one, me and you both talked about this, but I moved to Hawaii because I'm biracial, and parts of Ohio and then West Virginia and Pennsylvania and stuff, I was persecuted for being biracial. You know what I mean? Have being black, Native American, anything other than white, right?
right.
And stuff. So I found freedom over here in Hawaii, in the state of love, or aloha, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, for the mainlanders, so they can understand, it's love, it's aloha.
Right.
Sharing the same breath. It's being one with the community and walking together. And I definitely feel that over here. I definitely haven't been persecuted for racial things over here. Not too bad. I mean, sometimes you do have people though that don't like white people over here and stuff like that, and I experienced that a little bit, but not to the extent of the hatred that I experienced for Ohio and
Right.
stuff like like fighting. Fighting for my life, trying to get out of areas and stuff just because I'm biracial.
Right. I tell people stories of growing up in Ohio. So Chris grew up in what's the Eastern Ohio. I grew up in Dayton, which is like Western Ohio. So I was more close to the Kentucky border. Chris was closer to Pennsylvania and West Virginia, as he said. But Kentucky's pretty much considered the South almost. And people said I had a Southern draw when I was young, but I dealt with a lot of racism in Ohio, just like Chris was saying. And then coming out here, it's like totally night and day. People are like, "Oh, what are you?" and excited, right, when they ask you what you are, rather than like in Ohio, they're like, well, "What are you?" right, with like a stink face and stuff. So
Yes, a
it's
loaded question. It's more of a share your nationality, ethnicities, and everything. It's a melting pot over here.
and people are happy about it. They like it. They like that
Yeah.
everybody's mixed, and they're like, "Oh, I got this," and they all get excited about it. It's more fun.
Yes. So, as in for, I guess if we would say states, right? Those are Republican states, and then I do find it easier to live in a Democratic state. But like, I feel like how you're saying, like the Green Party, things like that. Like, I'm definitely not on the either or side. Like, whatever best suits me. And like I said, like however people look at that, Like, it's just reality. I hear people, they say like, oh, this is a horrible thing that's happened in China. These people in sweatshops are making iPhones while they're texting on their iPhone. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or they're saying something about like, oh, these batteries are killing the world and all this stuff from the cobalt mines and how people are persecuted and treated on that. But yet, they're charging their phone, they're living their life. So it's a little bit of a hypocrisy for United States, right? Because we're on top of the hill, looking down, complaining about things halfway around the world, but doing the actual thing that they're complaining about.
Right. And so that's kind of the way the system is set up, right? You can't partake in life as it is and not use these batteries, these cell phones, and these slave made China labor, whatever, right? And so when they talk about that, that's like if we can change, if we can get out of the Green Party or into the Green Party, out of the Democratic Party, out of the Republican Party, we can actually change the system to where now we don't use this slave labor, to now where we can have the option to not use these batteries, or maybe not even make them at all, make them more humanely and stuff. So that's kind of where the politics would come in. But it's hard to tell
I can see
somebody.
that.
It's hard to tell somebody, right? Like we have these cell phones, and you really can't live a decent life right now without having a cell phone, right? You gotta be able to call somebody, you gotta be able to Google things, you gotta be able to, Uber Eats or whatever, get on the apps and stuff. And without a cell phone, your life quality would
Yes,
be much
100%.
slower. What's that?
I said yes. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell people
You
that
can't
not to use a
you
cell
can't get
phone.
on with life.
What's that? On the elevator now.
With
I'm gonna
yeah,
pause it
yeah,
real quick. All right, back now. Cultcha Shoc is done with his elevator rides.
yeah. I had to take that elevator ride up.
All right, so the hypocrisy of capitalism, though, that's what the left calls it, right? Capitalists say, well, you complain about this, but you use it.
Yes,
You can't get through the world without using the stuff the capitalists create, but we can try to create a better society so that we can make it better for the future. It's kind of what the left wants to do.
yes, yes. And I mean, like it's hard to go back. Like it's that I anybody who has went forward understands that and stuff like that. So
Well, the
it's
left
just
doesn't.
like,
We don't want to go back. We just want to do it better. We want to do it more, say, more environmentally friendly, more human friendly, more.
oh yeah, definitely. And there's definitely some technologies out there that could probably do that. You know what I mean? But they gotta they they gotta get the bigger companies out of the way. Just like how the oil industry and everything. Like, I don't know if people know about this, but they paid a lot of money to scientists to pretend like lead and the gas wasn't affecting everybody and stuff. And they did this for a long time. They knew that it was messing up people for about 30 years in the ocean and everything. So whenever the gas would be off put inside of the vehicle, it would leave trace amounts of lead through the exhaust, and it was blanketing everywhere and stuff. And so they paid scientists to doctor it up and say it's not happening and stuff like that. And then even whenever they were fighting it in court, the head scientist guy that was fighting it, they waited for him, like, I forget, he had like a surgery or something. So then they heard and scheduled the day for the meeting whenever he was in surgery and stuff. And like, this is how crooked they are to fight these things. But that since has been passed, and we have unleaded gas.
Right. So I actually tried to make a video on that. And have you ever seen the Cosmos episode about that?
No, I
With
didn't.
Neil, okay, so Cosmos actually made a episode with Neil deGrasse Tyson in his first season, and it was about lead, and it talked about the Romans using lead in the aqueducts, and it talked about
Yeah, that was the
gas,
fall of their that was the fall of their empire.
right, and it talked about
Was
the lead in the gas too.
Yeah, there's lead pipes in Ohio.
There's lead pipes all over the country.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I just knew what to speak on, what I really knew of and stuff like that. So, my dad was digging up a corner pipe for a friend of his that needed she needed some help. So he went and did that. He pulled it out, and it was full. It was a full on lead. It was a lead corner pipe, and then the piping was lead and stuff. And like, so people in Ohio are drinking out of lead pipes. Like, they don't know it, but they are. You know.
There's actually like a bill they passed maybe 2 to 5 years ago that they're supposed to spend I forget how much money. It's like a couple million, maybe 10 or $200 million or something like that, to remove all the lead pipes in America because there's a lot of lead pipes in all the states. Like maybe
That'd
not
be a
every state,
beautiful
but
thing. I just hope that they would really do it though, because how can you fact check that? You get what I'm saying?
well,
I'm
they're
talking
not
about
doing
because
it.
these lead. Oh, well, I'm just saying, like, if it was, say, it was to even be done, and say the money was even spent, companies will cut corners and leave somebody with a lead pipe. I mean,
Right, and so that's capitalism, right? And that's because we
yes,
organize our society around money, and so people
yes,
put
yes,
money ahead of other people, and that's kind of how the right thinks, or the Republicans and Democrats, right? They think that you can only organize society through money, and that's the way it'll work. The left, we want to organize society more for what we need, what we want, what people need, and what they want, and not necessarily worry about the money. Like the lead pipes need to come out, so we just need to go take them out. Like
yeah.
they're
We
like,
need
oh,
to
it's
get them
gonna
out. Yeah, hands
right.
down, hands down. People's health should be prioritized overall.
And so when people think like that, and so when I talk to people who are say politically disengaged like you, I tend to think and tell them that they're on the left, right? Because if you don't want to step on other people's toes, if you don't want to control other people, if you just want a good life and you feel like you want everybody else to have a good life, that's the normal lefty. That's the person who doesn't want to really like, oh, I don't want to control other people, so I'm just gonna do my thing, right? But but people more on the right, they want to control what you do in the bedroom, how much stuff costs, and this and that, what you can do and what you can't do with certain things through money. Like
Yeah,
we can't
I
remove the
see it.
pipes because it costs too much, or it's going to take a long time because it costs too much. We should just remove the pipes, no matter the cost. Like it's a matter
Yeah,
of
yeah,
sanity,
and the
right?
crazy thing of it is that whenever they remove those pipes, they'll be removing it with our money anyway. So what's the big deal?
Right. And plus, like in America right now, we print money. So if we need more money, just push buttons, and we don't even
Yep.
use paper no more. It's just
I
digits on a
mean,
screen.
money's value decoupled whenever Nixon decoupled it from the gold standard, and so it's just on a trust me, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
But I felt like the gold standard was weird myself because like, what are you gonna do if I hand you 10 pounds of gold? What are you gonna do with it?
well, no, I'm just saying that gold has value, right?
It
And
does to
silver has
people because
value.
people say that it does. Like, why does it have value?
But it does have a use in electronical
Exactly.
parts and stuff. Like, I'm just saying, like, and before that though, yes, gold was a thing. Like, it doesn't, like, okay, a shiny rock out of the ground, we call it a diamond, right, or whatever. What really has that value? Like, the value of the diamond was made inside of a business room that they said that a man should pay 3 months of his wages to, like, proclaim his love to a woman and everything. Like, this is all have been taught to us, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
think whatever you really value. I value food because I'm trying to live. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying to live. That's what I value: food and shelter. That's my big things and stuff like that. Like, personally, I don't have a lot of endorsements on. I do have earrings on and stuff like that. And I do have a wedding ring and everything like that. So you get what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
guess I dabble in that, but yet, like, yes, I do agree with you. Value is just put on things, and then people accept it or they don't accept it. But one universal thing we all accept is that we need to eat and drink.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So on that, in the system that we have we basically have abundance of food. We throw away enough food to feed the rest of the world. But we have
Yes.
food deserts in the United States. Like we have places where people can't access healthy food. And that shouldn't be. But that's a political thing too. That's the Democrats and Republicans holding money more powerful or like more important than people, and letting there be a thing that you could call a food desert in the United States.
Oh
Like,
yes, I mean, for your viewers that don't know, like, there's a heavy poverty in Ohio per se, in Ohio Valley, in West Virginia, Pennsylvania area and stuff. There's high poverty over there. It's hard to come up over there. I mean, besides
very hard.
living in racism over there, like, you know what I mean. The biggest job that I could have possibly got over there without a college education, and even with a college education, there's not too many jobs. Maybe then you'd be running something, but besides that would be Walmart. Walmart a Walmart distribution center, and Walmart was the biggest thing. Now I'm Amazon is over there, and not saying that those are bad jobs, but that is the top pinnacle. Like that is it. That's it. And then the rest are just run of the mill jobs. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with those jobs or anything. It's just that you can move. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
exactly. People in
you
Ohio
can
don't know
move.
that.
You can move, and it's okay, and everything. And life will get easier for you if you go to a place where you thrive. If you're a fish in a jungle, you're not about to start climbing trees. Move to the ocean. You know what I mean?
Right. So, one thing you said about Walmart or whatever in Ohio, I think the minimum wage is still the country minimum wage. I think it's like $7.25 or $7.50. Here, the minimum wage is 10 or $10.50. But that's a
I had a family member that was working in a bank, right? A bank
in
in
Ohio.
2020. Yes, in 2022, and he's getting paid $10 an hour.
It's
ten
crazy.
dollars an hour. Like, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And some people be like, oh, that's good because they might be living in that and stuff. Like over here in Hawaii and stuff like that, you can get, for a fast food job, you can get $20 an hour, $18 an hour and
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm just saying, like, like they were thinking about making him the manager of the bank too. He was doing that type of work within the bank. He just wasn't being a teller, and they were paying him $10 an hour. He wisened up, got out of that, definitely got blessed with an amazing job after that. But that's just to show the difference in where you live at in the United States
Yeah. And
can change everything for you.
so that when I lived in Ohio, I never thought I would really like. I always wanted to get out of Ohio. Like it was just always bad. When I turned 21, I moved to Florida. I moved to Tampa, and I was there for a couple years. And then I ended up moving back to Ohio for a little while. And my dad moved to Las Vegas, and I was gonna move there with him. I ended up meeting a lady who lived here, so I moved here. But I've been back to Ohio many times and talked to some old friends and just met some people that I didn't know. And I tell them I live in Hawaii, this and that. And they're like, "Oh, that's amazing! I wish I could go there one day. I'll never leave here." Like there's a mentality in Ohio of just stuckness, right? And I'm sure it's not
Yeah,
just Ohio, but there's places where people just feel so down and out or downtrodden that they'll never be able to even like go to the next town, let alone go to the next
yeah,
state or Hawaii or somewhere in another country. Which
yes,
I feel like that is part of like people don't think of it that deep, but it's kind of part of the political system too. That they beat us down so much that we just kind of give up and just do what we need to do to not suffer and just to make it through our
yes,
life.
yeah. To survive.
Right, just make it through
So
life.
surviving isn't living, but it is living on an extent. But surviving isn't living, and you can get more for a mind change and everything. So like one, weather is a big deal.
Yes,
I
huge.
remember living in Ohio and having like maybe 3 months of good weather. Now in some of those months of the good weather though, it'd be 100. I remember I went to my brother's wedding in Columbus, Ohio. It
Too
was
much.
120 degrees. So
Yes.
out of that 3 months, there's some days that are just too hot anyways and stuff. So in that though, people get a little bit of cabin fever. You know what I mean? Here in
Yes.
Hawaii, we got like what is it, 82 degrees pretty much every single day. You know what I mean? And stuff. So we have a lot of sunshine and everything like that and stuff. And I feel that weather affects people, whether they know it or not.
It does.
You
It
know,
does greatly. Yes.
I remember when I went back home. I forget it was. I think it was in fall, but the whole sky was gray, like
Hmm.
and it did, and it was a whole block cloud. You couldn't see the sun, and it was like that the whole time I visited. I think I visited for like 3 weeks and stuff, and I was so happy whenever I got back home. I just like saw the sunshine and everything like
Yeah.
that, like my body responded to it. I wasn't even thinking about it, but my body responded to it. I was like, "Oh, hey, look, all the bright greens and all the colors and everything like that, all the flowers popping, the
Hmm.
sun shine out. People are saying hello to me on the street. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was like,
The
hey,
people are
look at
way different. Like,
all the happy strangers of Hawaii. You know what I
right.
mean? Everybody's just giving you love everywhere you go. You get the aloha spirit.
And that's almost strange when you first move out here, how everybody just talks to you and they're all happy and nice. You're like, whoa, whoa. Like, especially being
Inviting
from
you
Ohio,
to.
because people aren't nice like that.
Yeah, I remember I went to a park and then I got a plate, you know what I mean? A Simone family gave me this massive plate of food. It was beautiful. And they're like, hey, come over here. And I was like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? I walked over and stuff like that. I came with a whole plate. I fed my whole family with it. You know what I mean? And we were just at the park, you know, hitting the slides and stuff for the kids
Yeah.
and stuff. And then I had enough food for like 4 people right there and stuff like that. And that was just the aloha, just the love, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yes.
stuff. But you know, there's an abundance over here, though. You know, not to say that people in Ohio wouldn't do that, but where I lived at in Ohio, they don't have that. They don't have that to give. So they can't be judged on that standard. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because it's hard. It's hard to survive, especially when a lot of homes are broken too. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of families. There's a lot of single mothers. There's a lot of poverty. You know what I mean? It's just it's a struggling environment.
So let's Trump is talking about bringing back factory jobs. Ohio used to
Okay.
have a lot of factory jobs, and in Dayton,
Yes.
where I'm from, there's
Yes.
a quite a few shut down. I don't even know what they were
Yes.
like. What is it? I think we had Ford and Delco,
Yeah,
and
they had car manufacturing plants, they had steel mills, they had coke plants. If people don't know what a coke plant is, coke is something that they make to make the steel and stuff. They had tin mills. They had all these mills, like where I came from, like that's what they did. And I seen some pictures, but they're like from 1895, you know, paintings and stuff.
right,
But stuff was beautiful. It
right.
was beautiful. Like, you know what I mean? People were thriving at that time and stuff. Like, you know, like the houses were immaculate. You know, like
And we
everything was. You know, there was prosperity there because there was money in that. You know what I mean?
right, but do you think that's a viable thought option to try to bring back those type of jobs?
Um, it's only viable if something is created, as in so like they're creating these tariffs and all this other stuff and everything, because per se, probably most of everybody who is watching this has went to Walmart. Why do we go to Walmart? Because it's cheaper. Why do we go to Sam's Club? Because it's cheaper. Why do we go to Costco? Because it's cheaper. Now we could fight the system and say I don't go to Sam's Club because I don't believe in this. Or I don't go to Walmart and stuff, and that's someone's agenda and stuff like that. But the other 98% of us, we're going to where the milk is cheaper, where the eggs are cheaper, where the cheese is cheaper, whatever we're eating, whatever our diets are and everything. And that alone is just for survival. And especially in uneasy economic times. Like none of us know what's coming down the drain. You know what I mean? Like some people say World War III has already started with Ukraine and stuff like that. And I can't mock them for it. Like, you know why? Because it hasn't stopped and other people are jumping in and different things are happening and you got Israel, you got Pakistan, Iran, like all this stuff like slowly is coming together and people are picking sides, you know what I mean? You got the the what is it, Israel and
Palestine.
Palestine, right?
Yeah.
Palestine, stuff like that. Yeah. And you got that war erupting and stuff like that. I mean, that war has been going on since, you
Like the
know,
1940s or
Father
so.
Father Abraham. That's some
right.
old stuff. That's some ancient stuff. You know what I mean? But all in all, I'm saying like, so we got threats of war. We got threats of these tariffs and stuff like that. We got threats of all this stuff, this uneasiness that is in the world that everybody can feel and see and financially feel too, and stuff. So in that, you know, ideally you're going to try to save money, you know,
Yes,
which
sir.
pushes you to the machine, right? We talk
Right.
about the machine, and we go to the machine because we got to survive, though.
Right,
Like,
I
you
was
know
just
what I
gonna
mean?
say it
Like,
kind of shows how they can also control us in other ways, right? You're like most of us are gonna go to Walmart or the Sam's and save the money rather than stand up for like, oh well, we don't agree with this, so we're not gonna shop there, but we don't have the money to do that, right? We got to shop where we got to
yes,
shop, most of us.
yes, and like I said, it's for survival, and I don't judge no man on that and stuff like that. You know, back in the day when I was younger, because I didn't understand it, but now, like, you know, I have a family, been raising a family for a long time. I've been a father for over 18 years, you know what I mean, going on 19 and stuff like that. And I've seen the hardships in life and stuff like that. And I learned that, like, you know, you can't just look at somebody from the outside and say, oh, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that and stuff? Half the time when your mind's like that, you know, you got $5 from your dad or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know, you haven't really went out there and got it yourself. You
Right,
know
you
what I
didn't work.
mean? And stuff. So, you know, and all these things that, like you're saying, we are pushed to it. There's fear mongering, you know, there's fears of war, there's fears of famine and stuff. I mean, you know, like, think about the great potato famine, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. Like that could easily happen. They say that Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world and stuff like that. You know,
Hmm.
things are getting disrupted and stuff. What happens, like, you know, what happens whenever the food chain starts to get messed up? We've seen it all recently. We laugh about it. It's funny, but it's not funny with eggs, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Who would ever thought eggs would have been so important? But like all of a sudden, like, you know, chickens lay mad eggs. Like they lay mad eggs. Like they can lay an egg a day and stuff like that. You can get even more and stuff like that. But yet there is now a crisis with it to where we're all paying top dollar for eggs. Like something that was like, you know, I remember, you know, whenever I was really young, but like I remember $1.99 and stuff like that. You can get yourself 12 pack of eggs and stuff like that. Now I seen Safeway, they're hitting for 13, I think, no, 12.99. So, you know, it's over $1 an egg. Over a
Yeah,
dollar an
it's a
egg,
lot.
you
So,
know?
but so like when you talk about the food like that, again, if you look at politics, like that's how capitalism is set up, right? You look at the Green Party, we're into permaculture and food forest, right? So that's like if you have like a low income area or any area really, you plant the right type of trees, a big bunch of fruit trees, a bunch of vegetable trees, you know, potatoes, things like that all around. And then you probably have chickens and goats too, right? Because you need some stuff like that. And then you can have the food around your area to where a lot of it is free, right? You just pick it off the
Yes.
tree, or you have
Yeah.
maybe a few people who run the area and like go collect the stuff and drop it off at house and stuff like that. And then, you know, you have a couple families that are cool with killing a chicken and a goat, and then when they do that, they spread the meat around, stuff like that.
Understood. Yeah. I
But
mean,
so
that's like
that
Molokai living. Molokai does that.
right, but see, but it doesn't just have to be Molokai. We got yards everywhere, right? You can do it anywhere, but like
Yeah,
not
you can.
everybody's gonna want to kill a chicken or a goat, right? You just need a few people, like a family or two, that's willing to do it, and they can do that part
Yes.
for it and spread it out. But anybody's want to grow a tree or let somebody else come and tend the tree in their yard. If you got a mango tree or avocado tree, whatever, and then you put peppers
Yes.
and eggplants around, okra, stuff like that. You just collect it all up and spread it around. But there's enough land and enough yardage in most places that we can do that.
Yes, yeah, yeah, there is, and also, you know the story of Johnny Appleseed, right? You know what I mean? He went around planting apple trees everywhere and stuff like that. I mean, we could have something like that for in the cities and stuff like that. We would definitely, it would create a job too, because you know the fruit trees are messy. That's why they cut them down a lot and stuff. But you know, if someone was tending to them and picking the apples or giving them out and everything,
Right.
yes, we water these plants that bear no fruit and stuff for
Exactly right.
beauty, or they're easy to clean up. You know, something that doesn't, like, you know, shed needles everywhere or drop a whole bunch of leaves. So we get these things. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But
Exactly.
yes, if we would make a formidable plan around the United States, we could definitely grow more fruit trees definitely around in areas to where we already water it. We already
Right.
artificially water it. We're already paying the money. All you have to do is grow something that can bear fruit.
And so that's a big platform for the Green Party is actually doing that around neighborhoods, around the country, and eventually around the world. So, Chris, I'm coming up to my time that I have. I want to thank you for
That's what's
coming
up.
on, and we could probably talk for hours and hours. So, if you're willing, I'll have you come on again sometime soon.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, I
Every
appreciate your time, and I'm gonna send you an email. I have a couple people that I'm gonna introduce you to, a couple other online creators that I've been talking to.
All right, everybody. See my stage name's right there. It's Cultcha Shoc. I got a new song out with Rick Ross called "100 Stacks on a Watch." A hundred's in the number, you know, the 100. That's 100 stacks on a watch, featuring Rick Ross. Go check it out. We'd appreciate your support.
Right on.
Peace.
I appreciate having you on. Thank you, sir. Mahalo.
Thank you, Jordan.